Hello and welcome back to another podcast episode. I have with me Alan and Robin. How are you both doing today?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, yeah. Could have used a win on the weekend, but other than that,
Would have been nice, isn't it? Just when you get your hopes up and think, yeah, everything's going really, really well, and then that's the one team we lose to.
yeah.
Honestly,
Interesting game though.
That's good. Let's just maybe jump straight into it. Villarreal has recently, as you guys know, turned the form around with their recent performances since the new year with good results. Yesterday was, however, a disappointing night as Villarreal dropped two important points against Valencia in the derby match. Personally, I didn't, get the chance to watch the match, so I'm just curious to hear you guys' opinion on the match. I just saw the result, and but I read that many people were complaining. Some were saying that the result didn't reflect the performance. Are you guys sharing the same view, or did you think it was a fair result? We can start with Alan. You can start.
Well, I didn't get to see that much of it, but my sense was that we sort of, I think there's some chances at a second. We were dominating enough early in the first hour or so that we really needed that second goal. And not getting that, you always leave yourself open to something like what happened. I mean, Valencia made a couple of substitutions late on, and I think didn't the guy who scored, didn't he come on late? I think you always leave yourself susceptible to that sort of sucker punch, and that's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an interesting game actually. I mean, I've just watched it back now before this podcast, and it was a really good game for us from the very start. Really, we were very, very solid. We didn't go into it all kind of arrogant because Valencia obviously aren't playing that well, so we didn't go into it thinking, oh yeah, we're definitely going to destroy them. So we're very much cautious because the thing about derbies is you sometimes everyone gets a bit more fired up, don't they? So you never know what to expect with it. But I think it's kind of like Alan said. I think we just absolutely fell asleep at the end. Really, there. I mean, their goal wasn't particularly nice or attractive. It was a very easy goal for them. They just went straight for the middle, had the shot on goal. It bounced off the post and went back. So I mean, a lot of people probably did complain about it, but I was more critical of our centre backs really because the ball went in towards it, hit the post, came out on a rebound, and they just, what they should have done is just turned around and seen the people and looked around. Every defender knows that if there is a shot on goal, you look around you in case someone turns up, and they just fell asleep completely. Which, I mean, it's interesting because Foyth has been really, really good at centre back, but I don't think he has that he's not quite aware of his surroundings sometimes. So I think he could take a bit of blame for that goal, but. In all their fairness, I think the 1-1 was quite a fair result of it. Really, we played well, but we weren't dominating. I don't think so. That's kind of my view on it, really.
Yeah, I would agree with you on the goal that the thing that was, I mean, Villarreal has always had problems that we haven't had particularly mobile center backs, and I think teams, still try to exploit that. And when you're late in the match when you're trying, it was pretty much a direct route one sort of play, and I mean Foyth got beaten, and then as you said, it's like okay, so the shot comes back off the post, and I think Navarro and Foyth both, and neither one of them is like picking up anybody. They're just sort of standing looking at it. It's like, well, that was
your man, and everyone maybe it was like a kind of like a miscommunication, thinking maybe the Foyth's probably got it. Pau was thinking maybe Foyth got it, and then Foyth was thinking maybe Pau got it, and then neither one did anything. So it looked like maybe.
It's easy for us to say because when I played as well and the ball hits a post, it's so difficult to react to something like that. If the keeper manages to push it out, then it's normally okay. But it's so fast, so I can understand why. But I think You know, they really should have been sort of more aware of who was around them at the time. And I mean, fair play to him. He was on it. Like, you know, he just
Yeah,
latched onto the opportunity. So credit to the striker, really.
yeah. I think it was also unfortunate that we had we did have the ball in the net the second time ourselves, but it was waved off for, I think, I had to look at it a couple of times, but, you know, it was a marginal offside, but it was offside.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that, I think the reality is that it just doesn't seem like we manage a game well late sometimes, and it's, you know, we don't waste enough time sometimes. We don't. It just seemed like we were tired and the same thing against Girona when they got that late goal is, I don't know, just a lack of mental toughness or focus or something. It's sort of
very
odd.
much the Marcelino way, isn't it? That way you go all out. It's like strong attention to detail, and then, I mean, I'm not blaming Marcelino by any means. I think he pushes the players so much that when it comes to it, they do end up exhausted. I think what we are missing is that kind of killer instinct up front, really. I mean, we can't really expect Perez to do it all the time. And for me, he's the only proper striker there, really. I mean, that's no disrespect to the other players, but Pepe is not. He's an interesting player. He's still got that winger mentality. He's not that striker. And for me, Barry's just, I don't know. I'm not keen on him, to be honest. I feel so bad for him because he's such a young lad and he's so good. You know, he's enthusiastic, he tries, he runs, but he's kind of like a really bad version of Jackson, which is saying quite a lot, really.
I think the thing about Barry is he's had to play far more than I think we expected he would have to, and that, I think your analogy with Jackson is not bad, because I think Jackson was very much that way when he first played in the first team too, and, you know, got much better with time. But it's a big step up from the league where he was playing, and it's also just, I think, it takes time and I'm not convinced. I can't really tell how good he is.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. He's very strong in some areas, for example, in headers. In heading and strength, physical strength, he's very good, but he lacks the technical ability to hold the ball. He gives away the ball too much sometimes, and
he can't shoot either, which doesn't.
Yeah, his shooting ability, his shooting ability is very on and off.
Yeah.
But he was the one match where everything clicked for him was, if you guys remember, the hat trick he scored against Leganes. That's the match where I felt like, okay, maybe this is his turning point, where now we will see him on fire. And then he went back to the same Barry.
Well, it's quite funny you say that, because he was like, everyone raved about it. It's like, oh yeah, he's got a hat trick and everything. But then we were down to 8 men, so
that's like, true. We forgot about that.
So, like,
yeah,
that's a good point.
I don't know if you got the chance to see. I saw the highlights of the Atletico Madrid game yesterday, and Sorloth's goal. I mean, that's exactly what we're missing, right? I mean, I know that when we sold him, the question was that we were all wondering was, well, did he sort of outperform his whatever his algorithm says he should score this one year, and is he going to fall back to the way he was? No, he's continued to be really good, and it's that sort of killer instinct that we don't have.
We sold him cheap. Definitely sold him.
A lot of players who are good at setting up somebody. I mean, even Gerard, really one of his strengths too, but we don't have a person who can just bury it in the net the whole time. And that's
clinical striker, like a finisher, proven striker. Yeah, I see.
Right. Well, I mean, they're hard to get, and we made good money on the one we sold, and that's what happened. But but I think even so, if it weren't for the sort of late, we've been better at coming from behind in matches to get a goal at the end and win or draw. When we're in the last 15, 20 minutes with a lead, we have a hard time holding it. And I think we've seen that a couple of times.
And again, I think it goes back to the Marcelino style. I don't think he might implement this type of try to control the ball, waste time, but I think it's just his style of play, and I think he rather prefers us scoring 2 goals than defending 1 goal lead. Maybe that's how I see his style of play. Again, this is not the first time we concede. It's like I think we did the same against Las Palmas. We were leading 2 goals, and then the last 10 minutes were hectic. So we just need to find some way to defend without going ultra defense. Just maybe hold the ball and up the field. And unfortunately, a player who was really good at this is Gerard Moreno. He was very good at holding the ball, getting free falls in his favor. But now, we struggle in that sense. But going back to Foyth, sorry, Alan, just going back to Foyth, I think we have made some improvement defensively. We don't concede as many goals as before, and so do you think the reason is because of Foyth, or do you think maybe Marcelino has just worked on the defenders and just focused heavily on the defense, or do you think maybe Foyth has been a key factor to this so far, at least, us conceding less goals?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, what's interesting about Foyth because he seems to be playing better at centre back than he ever did at right back. So I feel like it's a mistake on our part not playing him as a centre back. He seems a bit more happier there almost, and I think he seems less injured, which is very weird. But I think there's different kind of aspects to it. I think he brings definitely strength. So he brings a bit more leadership and that kind of awareness more than the other centre backs that we have. The other centre backs are very much more just charge ahead, and they need direction, which is what we were missing. I think Foyth does bring that. Albiol did have that, but his reflexes and everything was just too slow and he was gone. So, but I still think in the summer we're probably going to try and bring in another centre back, and ideally probably play Foyth back at right back. But I think the reason it's improved quite a lot is Foyth's a bit more awareness than other centre backs we've had. Femenia is a fair right back as well, so I think he does pretty well alongside Foyth. So that defence is actually quite solid on that right hand side anyway. It's the left side that's always been a letdown, I think. So, what about you, Julian? What do you think?
No, honestly, I think Foyth has he has a lot. First of all, you mentioned with his experience, he has a lot of experience now, and I think him playing the days where he played as a right back is still the option is still there. But I think considering his history with injuries, I think centre back is much more. I think a position where he doesn't have to run as much up and down, and so I think he will be more comfortable with centre back. The only thing is, as you mentioned, Robin, sometimes he might not look behind the runs behind, but in front of him, I think he's really solid. He's very aggressive. And he's comfortable with the ball, and he wins a lot of aerial duels. So the only thing maybe he lacks is just focusing on the runs behind him. I think, and that's not a big adjustment to make. And so what about you, Alan? Do you think it's because of Foyth, or do you think that the defensive line has maybe they understand each other more now?
I'm tempted to say I think it's partly to do with Foyth, but I think that it's maybe Marcelino deciding that somebody like Bailly is not the answer. I think though that one thing about Foyth is when he was playing at right back and playing at his best at right back, he was a very fierce sort of one-on-one defender, but that's also how he got hurt. And so I think in the sort of in La Liga, where I would say the the players up front are generally more technical than physical. It's a lot easier for him. I think if he were playing in the Champions League against some physical strikers, it might be harder. But I think he's done pretty well. I think the main thing is just Marcelino is kind of feeling like I can pencil his name in there, and that's not, if you look at our center back pairings through the season, I mean he's been all over the place with who he's, somebody comes in for a game or two and then they drift off, and so I think partly it's continuity. And we are at a point where, we're later in the season and we've only got one match a week to worry about.
I'd be interested in your thoughts on Eric Bailly, because to be honest with you, I didn't think he was doing too bad. I know his maybe awareness and that was a bit off, but I know he's injured all the time. But he for me, his performances when I saw him, and since he's joined the club again, I thought we were a bit better. So I wouldn't mind seeing him and Foyth in that centre back position, really. But I don't know. How do you feel about it? Maybe you've seen.
No, I agree a little bit, because when he first came in January, somehow I felt more secure with him. That's probably because we didn't have a lot of good defenders in January last year. But I think he brought some experience, and he's kind of missed his aggression. I like very aggressive defenders. So, but with him, he can perform really good for 80 minutes, and then he will make a stupid mistake, or he will get a red card, or he will sleep in defense. That's always been my main issue with Bailly, is his concentration level is you can't trust him. So I think the thing I think with Marcelino, I think he uses Bailly as like a defender with experience, maybe who can integrate these new French players, with the language and with experience. So kind of in like an Albiol role now, slowly turning into like an Albiol role. And but he's I think a decent backup. It's just you can't rely on him,
Yeah.
So that's my only issue with him. And you, Alan, what are your thoughts on Bailly?
I think the reason why I was slamming him was exactly what you said. That I think I've always, I liked his aggressiveness and his physical nature, but there's just a lack of concentration where he just doesn't. As you say, he'll play well for 80 minutes and then something happens. I was a little surprised yesterday, actually, that Marcelino didn't bring him on, maybe try to shore up the defense. As you say, maybe that gets back to the thing that he'd rather try to score a second goal than worry about giving up one. But I didn't think Marcelino's substitutions necessarily made the most sense. I don't know.
Yeah,
I heard it too. Robin, you probably know this. You watched the game, you watched the match. But people were complaining about the substitution he made. Apparently, he subbed off Pubgay just maybe early in the second half, and the players that came on, they didn't impact as much. Is it what you saw too, Robin, or?
Yeah, there were some very strange moves. Everyone like Guay did really well. The goal was amazing. That was where did that come from? Like he just seems to be adapting new skills each game, and I think just before that he nutmegged someone as well and went on a massive dribble. So he's a really good player that seems to do everything. I think we might probably end up losing him some point in the future, but there were some very weird ones, and then Denis Suarez came on later on for our striker, which was a bit of I can't remember who it was. He came on. I think it was Perez who came on for. A very weird move, because that's like probably a bit more defensive than anything else. Santi Comisania coming on for Guay, I think it made sense because he was so excited by his goal and his kind of run of form that he was making a few more mistakes. You don't want to lose that ball in midfield. So Santi is my favourite player that we have at the moment, other than Pedraza. And I think that's a really good swap until midpoint, really, when you just need a bit more of a calm head, someone to help cover defending. And maybe taken Parejo off and put both of those two on. But yeah, there was some very strange moves, I think, really. So and it did change the game, I think, for us. So how about you, Alan? What do you reckon?
Well, I didn't get to see the whole thing, but when I was just looking at it, it seemed an odd substitutions to me. I mean, if we're going into the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the game, I would have thought, I was a little surprised Jeremy came out as soon as he did, and from the way Guay was playing, yeah, it just seemed like we took out two players who I think at the time have been two of our best players on the pitch with 25 minutes to go, and I don't think that the players that came on did as much, but I think we're, as we've said earlier, though, I think we're sort of have a short hand when we can't call on Gerard, and you look at the bench, and we don't have that striker to come on that can hold the ball up, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, it's a quite shame what has been going on with Moreno. He was just slowly coming back into form. Even scored, I think, a penalty, and he was really coming back into the form. And then once again, he suffers another injury. Do we know anything about how serious it is? Has Marcelino or any other? Have you heard anything? Have you guys heard anything?
I haven't. Have you, Robin?
No, I think it's probably one of those injuries where they don't know how long. I think it's got to the point with him where there's so many injuries and it's such a shame. But I think they're just kind of no idea of predicting it. I think what they need to do with him is just tell him not to run, not to sprint, just stand there. Because he just, like I always said, he runs about 10 meters and ends up pulling on his hamstring. So he just needs to stand there. He's so good, he's so brilliant. Like I said, he was coming back on form and everything. But yeah, it's just. Yeah. He's like Dennis Suarez now.
I'm just looking, and soccer anyway has him being out until the beginning of April with a calf injury, but I don't know if they actually know that or if that's just. Okay. But you look back, it's like since 2023, calf injury, 5 calf injuries, a hamstring, and a calf injury again, and he's just it's a pity because. He's played well, but he's only played 600 minutes in the league for us this year.
Yeah, and he has barely played under Marcelino, I think. So we haven't seen much of his game or how Marcelino wants to use him. So it's a big shame.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he's, as I say, he's just. And he's 32, so he's sort of at that period where you kind of wonder, like, how many more years does he have?
Yeah.
With all these injuries.
I get the impression he's always wanted to finish career at was it Espanyol? Or wasn't it? Yeah, I feel like he might leave soon, which would be a real shame because he is so good. And what's amazing about him is I love watching him play as well. It's not often I see strikers and think, wow, I actually really love playing. The idea for them is just put the ball in the back of the net. But he's just a beautiful player to watch. It really is.
It's really, he has everything. Like, I mean, he can hold the ball, he can dribble, he can shoot. But I think also, as you say, Robin, I think he wants to return to Espanyol before he retires. Remember, I think when he came the second time, he was a bit emotional, and so it means a lot for him to play for Espanyol.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird for us, Alan, isn't it? Because we remember, well, and I'm sure you do as well, Julian. Remember him playing for what was it? Was he? I remember him coming up for the ranks. Because when we were in Segunda, and he was there, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. I mean, I thought the thing about him was in the Segunda, you already saw it was like you saw his skills, and you saw essentially the player that he's been ever since. He was just like fantastic at making everybody around him better.
Yeah.
I think that's a real rare thing for a striker to do. Because he was completely unselfish and completely, even then, the kind of player who could make the key pass to set up the goal or score it himself, and then 5 minutes later he'd be battling hard for a 50-50 ball and get it and win the foul, and then we'd kill some time. So I've always enjoyed his play, but it's just unfortunate. I think if not for, you go back and you look at his injury, pretty much starting like around 2020, I guess. I think without that, he would have been, playing for Spain a lot more than he did, and would, be a much more famous player than he is. But it's just unfortunate we've had all these niggles that just don't seem to ever get totally fixed.
That's true. We made a signing this January. I have no idea how to spell or say his name, but he's a Canadian winger from Inter. Do you guys know how to say his name? Or
his last name Cannon.
Cannon.
I don't know. I'm not. Is it Tajon?
Yeah, something like that.
How he pronounces it, I have to say.
Yeah. Do we have any early impression of him? Did he play yesterday against Valencia? Do you see him, Robin?
Yeah, he came on for Pino, so he's an interesting player. I think he's going to take a long time to adapt, though. That's my only kind of impression so far. He doesn't seem like the most orthodox player transitioning straight into La Liga. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know. I know absolutely nothing about him. But I mean, he's almost got that kind of Pedraza kind of thing going, where he's sort of tall and lanky. He can get the ball in, but he's not. When you're tall and lanky, it's very difficult to do quick feet. But then he's a winger on the right wing, so it's a bit of a strange move. He's not Pino and he's not Ilias. He's just an interesting. I think that obviously might have a big fear factor almost for some of their defenders, really, because they just won't know how to handle him, really. But to be fair to him, he did put in that goal that was disallowed. He was the one that did the cross, and he was putting in a few crosses and stuff. So he's more of a winger than anything. It's weird. I'm not sure if you know more about him, Alan, because you're from your neck of the woods.
Well, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about him either, other than I think you're probably. It struck me as sort of an odd. I mean, I didn't think at the time it was going to be. I guess we do have a buy option for him, but it seemed pretty high relative to what his current value probably is. And I just viewed it more as an insurance for injuries, really. So I can't say as I have a great feeling about his. I think Robin's right. He's not the kind of player who can just sort of walk right into La Liga. I think it takes him a little time to adapt to that. So I'm not, I was looking to see what is, because he came up. Yeah, he had an interesting. Came up. Went through American college ranks, and then the American League, MSL, and then played in at Club Brugge for several years. So, so I think Inter Milan was a big step up for him from Club Brugge. But I think he can play several different places, pretty much. He can play fullback. He can play as a winger, wide midfielder, which I think Robin's right that it's like he's sort of tall and lanky, and so kind of a bit of an interesting. I guess he's 6 feet. He seems taller.
Yeah. I think he needs to smile a bit more as well. I mean, I know we're not like like all the press pictures and everything with him, you know, all the social media of VRL. It didn't smile once. And alongside our
Mm.
chairman, who's also famous for not smiling, it was a very
Yes.
sad picture, I think. It looked like a child
Yeah.
that's been dragged from a supermarket or a toy shop.
Yeah, he never smiles. That guy never smiles.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
he's been remembered for as well, which is quite sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
What about the? Yeah, were you gonna say something, Alan?
No, that's fine.
Okay, I was thinking about the goalkeeper situation. You know, because Conde was out for a while and with injury, and then Junior, who had a rough start, he started to get warm and get comfortable, and I think he had one of his best match against Atletico Madrid, and then he gets back to the bench, and Conde gets a guaranteed start. Guaranteed start. Do you think that I'm not disagreeing with Marcelino, but do you think Marcelino made the right decision to um, keep using Conde because he didn't lose his position because he performed badly, but it's just because of the injury. So I was thinking the dynamic there. What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, it's a really weird one, isn't it? Because I don't think Villarreal's ever been in this situation before, I suppose, really, because we've always had like one keeper that was always better than the other. It's
Mm.
hard to tell, but actually, I really like Conde. I think he's brilliant, and he's definitely. I think he is better than Junior. I know he's had a bit more run games and stuff like that, but that price tag is going to cause a lot of pressure on Junior to kind of feel like he should be starting and everything. So, you know, but I think he's probably the keeper for the future, I guess, for us. But they're not so different in age, so it's a really weird dynamic, and I'm not sure what to think. But I
It is.
like Conde
Yeah.
more. What do you think, Julian?
No, I like Conde as well. I just don't. It's gonna be a headache for Marcelino, in my opinion. Maybe not this year because Junior is it's his first year and he's still a bit green. But I think maybe next year or in 2 years it's going to be a bit headache for Marcelino what to do because you can't have two starting goalkeepers. He has to either sell one of them or probably Conde or yeah. So it's like a tricky situation. So I was just want to hear your thoughts about it. And you, Alan, what do you think about this situation?
Well, it is weird to me that I think it is a difficult situation to be put in because certainly Junior after starting slowly had a couple of really good matches. I think the match against Mallorca and the match against Atleti, he played very well in both of those, and so to kind of lose his spot again to Conde seems a bit odd to me. I don't know. Conde strikes me as kind of if I think he's okay. I don't see him as being a long time number one keeper for us, though. I think Junior is better at passing. I think he's certainly better at saving long shots than Conde is. I think the goals he's given up have usually been where he's been beaten low, and his positioning hasn't been great. I mean, that's stuff you can work on. But
Yeah.
so I have more, even though Junior hasn't played that much. I feel like I have a better sense of him than I do Conde. Conde strikes me as kind of an average to better of an average keeper, but I don't think he's ever going to be a star. Where Junior, I mean, given the price we paid for him, we're clearly expecting him to be.
Right.
I think Conte still has a better moustache, though. Just saying.
Well, yes.
Yeah, no one's beating that.
I mean, the other thing is, of course, Conde is much more used to La Liga than Junior, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
So that enters into it also. But I'm thinking, I'm trying to remember the last time we had a situation where we had two goalkeepers that were pretty much in the in the mix, and I can't really.
Maybe Asenjo and Areola, if they were, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if it was the same time.
I think it was Asenko and Rulli, wasn't it, for a while? I think Rulli came in and
Oh, yeah,
Asenko
that's
was
true.
still good
Good
because
point.
Areola was amazing, but he was only on loan, wasn't he? So,
That's true.
Yeah,
That's one.
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, yeah.
Rulli, I'm still scarred by Rulli, to be honest. So, the fact that we've got two very good keepers makes me feel a lot happier than ever I was in those years. But I mean, Areola was amazing, but he looked like basically,
Yeah.
he looked a very safe header. I guess the language helps Conde as well, doesn't it? Really, I know.
Yeah.
You know, sure, Junior can pick it all up and everything, but I suppose we also have a very international defence, so I suppose speaking the language doesn't really matter, I guess. But
No, I think Martin is very strict about this. I read somewhere that, even I think Pop Gay or Buddy was saying something about Marcelino only accepting. He doesn't let any of these players who don't speak Spanish speak other languages. So he's very strict on that. That when they are working out, when they are training, that they only speak Spanish. So I think, especially for those French players. Junior, like he is like a very commanding. I like that he is very commanding, very vocal, and especially in corners. I feel with Conde, he's a bit, he's a bit shaky in catching the ball. But with Junior, I feel more comfortable in those areas. But as you said, Alan, his positioning, unfortunately, lets him down. He usually stands like far to either side, and then he can't like make it up. But Conde has really good like reflexes, and his reaction is very good. But sometimes he comes across as a panicky goalkeeper. Like everything is like rushed, and he doesn't. At least from when I see him playing, he doesn't seem to calm the defense down. He just rushes or like I don't know if you guys seen the same type of reaction or it's only me, but that's what I get from the goalkeepers at least.
Yeah, it's interesting that they are very different. They're very different stature as well, aren't they? Really. So
Yeah,
I think Conde's always going to be better with those slightly longer shots because he's got a longer reach. Whereas I think Junior's very good, like one-on-one, close. He gets his body out there, and he's pretty good. I mean, talking of goalkeepers, do you see the whole thing of Jorgensen in Chelsea and how he got chosen as the number one and then made two howlers or something like that? So it's weird, but I feel so happy of having the two keepers that we have now, Junior and Conde, compared to Jorgensen. So
It's a nice problem to have, but you're right with the difference in age being only a couple of years. And they're both basically in their mid-20s. It's going to be interesting to see how that gets worked out, because I don't think either one of them is going to be happy sitting for long periods of time. So it's a good problem to have, I suppose. If we are in Europe next year, that will mitigate it to some degree, because whoever is not first choice is going to get to play all those group round games in whatever competition you're in.
For sure. Yeah, and okay. So last question. It's a tough, it's a tough match that awaits us on Saturday against Rayo Vallecano, and I just looked up their stats. They've been just grinding results, like barely winning 2-1, 1-0, 3-2. They just know how to get the best out of the games, and it will be very difficult for us away match. How do you see this match going, and can you make predictions? It'll be fun to have some predictions for the match.
I always let Alan go first.
Well, I'm going to say we'll win it 2-1.
We'll win 2-1?
I think 2-1. I think partly that's just the fact that we usually play pretty well against Rayo, and we've had good success in their three-sided ground. So I would probably that's would be my feeling. But I think partly it's that Rayo, yes, they have ground out some good results. I just think generally they're over the course of the seasons once they have achieved, once they know they're going to be up in La Liga next year, they don't typically have a lot to play for. And I mean, yeah, I know they're 7th or whatever right now in the league, but I don't see them staying there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tends to fizzle out a bit with them, doesn't it? It's going to be interesting. It'll be a nice game. It'll be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a draw. I don't know why I'm being a bit skeptical about it, but I just think that Marcelino was pretty angry yesterday, I think, about what happened. So I think we will try and do our best, but I think it'll scare the hell out of the players, and I think they'll probably make more mistakes. So it'll probably be another 1-1, I think, on my part. They're always a good side to like, and it's always a good rivalry we have with them. So it'll be good to see, I think. So what about you, Julian? What do you reckon?
You were gonna say something, Alan? I thought heard maybe you would say something.
No, I was just going to say I think it'll be fun to see. Palazón is in midfield for them is quite a spark plug. It'll be interesting to see him and Guay going after each other.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. And I was, I was just checking their fixtures coming up. They only, they are in a good form, but they haven't met any good, top 6, top 7 teams. But so they will start tomorrow with Barcelona, and they will face us, Sevilla, Madrid, Sociedad. So they will have tough fixtures coming up in the next few weeks. So so I just wanted to mention that. I think also perhaps 1-1, 2-2. I'll see a draw. I can see a draw. We usually do well away in because the home teams has to, go for us, and we usually are very good at counter-attacking that. So I think we might see some goals, 2-2, 1-1. But I hope also we win. So I'm kind of tired of these draws as well. So yeah, I hope leaning towards a draw though.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I've got one question for both of you then. Who's your current favourite player at the moment? Who do you think? Who's the best one for you? You can't say Mo Gomez, Alan.
Sorry, what was
Mo Gomez.
I can't choose Montreguero still. Favorite player on our team?
Yeah, current player.
Current player. I would probably go with Gerard. Would be mine. I think partly that's because of all the things we were talking about earlier.
What about you, Julian?
I echo Alan's choice. It has to be Bayern. For me, Gerard is my favorite, but a close second is Bayern. What about you, Rob?
I love that you both choose the one player that hasn't played that much.
But if you said this year, I would say Bayern. But if you say since you didn't say this year, I was okay then.
That's true. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Bayern is definitely not my favorite. He's been amazing, but he's a twat. I'm sorry, he's a horrible person. He's rolling around, he's having tantrums, he gives up so much. I'm just like, honestly, if I was on the football pitch with him, I'd happily punch him in the face. But my favourite is Santi, I think, and exactly kind of almost those reasons that he's not Bayern. He doesn't give up with a challenge, he doesn't roll around on the floor, and he gets the goals as well, hidden goals, and he just plays like his heart on his sleeve. So that's why I really like him, and I think it's been a really great signing for us. So, Santi's mine.
Yeah, Santi has been he's an underrated player. Him and Cardona as well. Cardona has, for me, slowly, he has performed really well. I'm more afraid of losing. I don't mind losing Bayern now because we will get hopefully a lot of money for him, enough to replace him. But with Cardona, the way he's performing right now, I think it will be very hard to find a left back who's performing the way he's performing recently.
Isn't he got one of the most leading assists in the whole of La Liga?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He has 6 assists, I think.
He's got 6 assists, same as Baena. Yeah. He's the first left back we've had in ages who can cross the ball.
Yes, ever since Costa, I think. Costa was the last good one at crossing.
So I think, yeah, I think, I mean, he's been impressive. But yeah, I think as far as players who have actually been on the pitch more, I would say, yeah, probably. I would say Santi is a good choice. I'm a little down on Santi right now because he had a couple of chances to score late yesterday. That
Yeah, he had a good cross, but the other one where yeah.
yeah, but but he'll miss one of those and then he'll score something else.
Yeah. Reminds me of a dog, he just keeps going on and on and on, and then when the ball actually gets to him, he doesn't know what to do with it once it's in his mouth.
But good news is that he signed a new contract, so that's a good news.
Yeah.
Also, Bayern got that offer as well. So that was 60 million or something from a Saudi club, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he clearly doesn't want. I mean, he wants to go to Barcelona, right? But they can't afford it. And apparently, I just can't imagine him going to Aston Villa in the summer. But I'm sure his tantrums will play really well in the EPL.
Yeah, I mean, he would probably get kicked a lot harder than anyone in La Liga dares do with it. But yeah, oh god. I mean, sure. I like Pino as well, but he does the same thing. It's the rolling around thing, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, Pino does it. For me, the way you feel about Bayana, Robin, that's the way I feel about Pino. For me, I get frustrated.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like when Bayana is playing really well. I mean, when he is, there are times when he is downright unplayable to a defender. I mean, there have been matches where I'm thinking he's running at this guy, and you could just see the fear in the guy's eyes. It's like, oh my God, what do I do now? And there have been times where his play is like, for all those assists he has, he'd have twice that many if sometimes our other players just don't quite see the game as quickly as he does, and get in that position for that, for that pass. But he is irritating.
Yeah. To say the least.
He leads in yellow cards again, although he only has 8, so he's doing better than he did last year, I think.
I just love it because he always looks so surprised that everyone hates him. And I'm just like, if you don't realise why, there's probably something there wrong with you, not everyone else.
He's always shocked.
He's got to challenge me. Why is the referee going? It's like, mate, you've been rolling around for 20 minutes on the floor. It's like Neymar. Like,
But it's good that he's at least playing for us and not against us. I would be even more pissed if he played for Atleti or something.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I could hate him then and it'd be justifiable, so it's all right.
True. No, he's a maddening but great player, I think.
We've never had anything like it, have we? We've never had another player that bad, I don't think.
For me, sorry, but Samuel Castillejo used to be also.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
He used to annoy me as well.
Yeah, he was on the floor like so many times. He was famous for being on the floor more than he was standing up.
He also looked like a strong wind would blow him over.
Yeah,
really spindly. He reminded me of a guy I played football with years ago in like a rec league, who was, great in theory. I mean, his understanding of the game was great, but if you touched him, he fell over because he was so thin.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was like that player when you played football that turned up in the bright boots but wasn't good enough to wear bright boots. Like, you couldn't get him dirty because he was on the floor rolling around too much. And oh god, yeah, no, that's an excellent shout. He was almost as bad, but at least with him, I can't justify him either.
He didn't complain. Maybe he complained, but he just,
I don't. Castillejo, the other thing was, because he was so, I just remember you would see the pictures on the website of him, showing up doing the, PR thing at one of the schools or something. He always wore the same pair of jeans that had all sorts of, rips and shreds in them. It was like, this guy's making $1 million a year, and he can't afford anything else than that. And they were the thinnest jeans I've ever.
Oh yeah, the thinnest. Yeah, I remember one picture especially, like a black, really tight jeans.
Yeah.
Oh, have you seen that picture, Alan or Robin?
Yeah, that's one.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's just like, wow. Maybe I don't know. What do I know? But that was my memory of him.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's Spain. He can have holes in his jeans, and it'd be fine. It wouldn't be too cold. But yeah,
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, characters of Villarreal's fairly recent past. He's definitely one of them.
Sure.
He wasn't even that good either.
Well,
Yeah.
what's kind of interesting to me is how many players we have sold on who end up not really doing that much. And I realize that, part of it is we've had coaches who have gotten the best out of them.
Yeah.
Samo
jump to mind.
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of players that we bought them low, we sold them high, and then that's been the high point of their career, and then they've sort of gone downhill. And I think part of it may also be that when they're being sold outside Spain, many of them are these more technical players who have a hard time fitting in quickly into other leagues, especially Italy, England, and so then they got sidelined. And I mean, if you don't crack the starting lineup right away, chances are they're going to buy 3 other players to play over the top of you, because the clubs have so much money they can just, oh, okay, well, we'll just loan you out somewhere and whatnot, and we'll buy somebody else for 30 million.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no like a settle down process where you have time to, especially as a young player, develop, and you either have to perform right out the gate, or you will be replaced.
Yeah.
And
And
I struggle to think of any player that we've actually really gone that's suddenly really been just as successful with us as they have. I mean, Pau Torres is the only one I can think of, and he's injured at the moment. Really.
Torres, maybe Jackson. I don't know. I haven't seen so much, but maybe
Chelsea
Jackson.
fans aren't that keen on him, from what I've heard.
Okay.
It's an interesting question. Well, I guess certainly Santi Cazorla, when he was at Arsenal, I mean, his career would have been great where it was just the injury thing, but he played as well for Arsenal and for Malaga for the year or so after leaving us. But that really is kind of rare. Most of course, he was a very, very special player, but most players that we've sold on, I'm thinking of like Castillejo or any of the recent ones that we've sold outside Spain. I wouldn't count Sorloth because he's still in La Liga, but yeah, the ones that we've sold overseas have generally not panned out that well. And you look at a guy like Iago Aspas for Celta. I mean, he goes to Liverpool and washes out. I mean, I think part of it he just wasn't happy there, but gets back to Celta. The guy's a legend.
Yeah. I suppose Rodri's one, isn't he? Really?
Yeah, we forgot about Rodri. Yeah. But he didn't go through. He went through Atletico and then City. So, but still, we can consider him.
Yeah, but he was already. He was. I think a very, like Santi, a very rare player. Very, very rare. And I would say Pau Torres is probably the other one who I think certainly say is whatever, Villa paid for him has been well worth it.
I think he'll come back one soon. Not soon, but I think he will come back to it. But he's very much a local lad, isn't he? So
yes. But it's. I'm just thinking of all those players that we, the two Samus and some of the guys we've gotten and sold on that have just been sort of I guess what you realize is that it's sort of the more, I would say, upper middle rather than upper players. In terms of talent, the ones who are good team players but aren't the kind of players you can build a team around or put right in the lineup of an Arsenal or a Liverpool or whatever.
Mm.
And those guys haven't flourished much. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was a good talk, guys. That was really fun. We needed it after such a long. A lot has happened since the last time we spoke. So yeah. So I appreciate you guys taking time, though.
I have a quick, but maybe before we go, because I've seen conflicting things. So whatever the two places in the Champions League that are determined by the coefficients. What I'm talking about, that you've got spots for each league in the Champions League, like Spain has 4.
Yeah.
Then there are these 2 other spots that this year I think England and Italy got the extra spot. And does anybody know if it's the coefficients at the end of this year that determines next year, or is it 2 years out? Because right now, Spain could be getting one of those, and so if we finished 5th, we would be in the Champions League if that's what happens.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's right.
I'm still getting my head around the rules, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I heard some rumors last year that Spain could potentially be that they're very close. So depending on how Real Madrid perform and how the Spanish team performs, Spain as a league will get points. And that points will determine, that's what I think. I think that will determine if Spain gets another spot for the Champions League or not. So,
I'm not sure it's this coming year. But
this year, yeah. So it's this year.
Okay, well, that would be good. Okay.
Yeah. So Real beat now City, so that's a plus. Spanish teams, I think, are doing okay in Europa League, and
they do, but they continue to do well, both because we want Athletic to be busy with something else, and we want to have that extra spot, because I think at least right now it looks like the top 5 in the league are reasonably separated from the next 9 or whatever, and then there's like 6 fighting against relegation. So, I think our chances of holding on to 5th at least are pretty good. So,
well, the Atleti, Villarreal are going to play Atleti, aren't we? That's going to be like the decider, I guess, almost. It's a bit further down. It's a really good game.
Yeah.
Because we've
Bilbao, you mean? The Bilbao match? Yeah, Bilbao Athletic. Yeah.
We host them, and let's see, they won 2-0 away. At their place. So I don't know. I'm not. I think it's going to be tough because they're so good at home, and they've got a bunch of games at home that they really ought to win. But Espanyol helped us today and took a point off them. So that was good.
Betis draw with them as well. Was that last week?
Yeah, Betis draw. They were leading, actually. Betis were leading 2-1. I was hoping for a win, but they scored. Do you guys have anything? I have to check what you mentioned, Alan. I just have to look up on Twitter or something. Probably someone has mentioned.
Yeah. Let's see. I think you're right. The big thing that match on April 5th with Athletic Bilbao, that's going to be the key, because if we can beat them, in the head-to-head, that's great. But that's what it's going to come down to. If we don't get 3 points out of that match, it's really hard for me to see how we catch them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Have fun, guys. Thanks for taking your time again, and have a nice day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.